To the August 17th edition of the Board of Selectmen Cemetery Commissioners, Highway Commissioners meeting. Before we begin, I have a disclosure for public meeting. Public meetings pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12th, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, General Law, Chapter 30A, subsection 20, and the governor's executive orders imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place. Although a quorum of the members of the Dudley Board of Selectmen will be physically present for this meeting, no in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted. The meeting will be live broadcast on Dudley Cable Access Television, Channel 192, and members of the public can also access the rebroadcast of the meeting online via YouTube. In the event of an unanticipated interruption in this broadcast, we will post on the town's website an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. Members of the public who wish to appear before the Board of Selectmen must make an appointment to appear on an upcoming agenda by contacting Michelle Jervis at selectmen@dudleyma.gov or by calling Michelle at 508-949-8001. Placement on the agenda is not guaranteed, however, and persons requesting to appear before the Board of Selectmen should not attend a meeting in person unless and until the appointment has been confirmed by the Board of Selectmen. Persons with matters appearing on a meeting agenda may request that they attend via virtual means, such as video conference call, rather than in-person attendance. Such a request should be directed to Michelle Jervis at selectmen@dudleyma.gov or by calling Michelle at 508-949-8001 no more than 3 business days in advance so that appropriate arrangements can be made. However, persons or representatives with matters appearing on the meeting notice/agenda who wish to be physically present at the meeting must observe the following requirements. 1. In accordance with existing requirements imposed by the governor, meeting rooms will be limited in terms of the total number of persons that may be physically present at the same time, including board/committee members and staff. Satellite rooms will be available for overflow, and the meeting will be broadcast in real time in those satellite rooms. Persons who wish to participate in any particular matter on the meeting agenda will be asked to wait in the satellite room until that agenda item is reached, at which point attendees will be rotated between the main meeting room and the satellite rooms as appropriate. Social distancing must be maintained in both the main meeting room and in satellite rooms. Face masks or coverings will be required in accordance with Governor Baker's May 1st, 2020 COVID-19 Order Number 31, quote, order requiring face coverings in public places while social distancing is not possible, unquote. A copy of that order can be found at https://www.mass.gov/doc/May1-2020 masks and face coverings/download. Failure to comply with these requirements may lead to an attendee's removal from the meeting. Now, will you all please join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, the chair would like to recognize Mr. Sullivan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just like to make note, and I know I speak on behalf of the board, send our sympathies to the family of Anthony Jakubowski. Mr. Jakubowski passed recently. I believe he was 95. Nice round number, nice round age. I met him several times. He was quite the character. He had some good stories from the old days when he worked for the police department. And again, I know I speak for the board when we send out sympathies to his family. Also, Mr. Chair, I'd like to just offer up a moment of silence for the 124,000 plus positive cases of COVID. More importantly, for the over 8,800 residents of Massachusetts who have passed from this awful, awful virus. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Sullivan. Up next on the agenda is the consent agenda. Would any member of the board like to pull something out of the consent agenda?
Where are we going to put the outdoor
Mr. Chairman?
licenses?
The Nichols College outdoor entertainment license.
Yes, Mr. Johnson.
Could we pull that out, please?
We certainly can. Lynn? You could come up to the podium if you'd like, or sit, whichever you prefer.
I want to do the other one.
Good evening,
Good evening.
Mr. Johnson.
Hello.
Hi.
Question on the multiple licenses being requested.
Yes.
I'm only showing one in my packet, but it says approximate number of people expected 100. Will that be adjusted to the governor's requirements?
It will be, when we submitted it, it was at 100, but now it will be at 50, which is the state guidelines, yes.
So, Mr. Chairman, we won't sign anything that says 100, or say 50 when we sign it?
Correct.
All right, that was my only question.
Okay.
Any other questions, comments from the board? Mr. Sullivan?
Lynn, is that your public safety office that will maintain that 50-person limit?
There will be staff present, and we will have a public safety officer there as well.
Is there a Dudley police presence required for any of those? Or Chief, we generally don't require a presence for that, do we?
We'll talk it over with public safety if it's required. Most of the time, if alcohol is present and things like that, we'll discuss it with public safety. Needs to be paid.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thanks, Lynn.
Thank you. Anyone else have any questions or comments? The chairman will entertain a motion.
So moved on the consent agenda, Mr. Chairman, with the change to 50 people, as Mr. Johnson stated.
I'll second it, as long as the caveat, as Mr. Johnson said, we won't be signing anything that says 100, and our public safety is contacted and all set with it.
Excellent.
Okay
Excellent.
with the mover?
Is that okay? Yes.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Michelle, you got all that? Excellent. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Thank you,
Thanks, Lynn.
Lynn.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lynn.
Next up is the town administrator's report. The town administrator is out of state for this meeting. He's on vacation with his family. He did submit a report to us, and
Mr. Chair, make a motion that we accept the town administrator's report as presented. I don't believe there's anything pressing on there we needed to discuss, and he can carry over any issue he feels necessary to the next meeting he's at.
agreed, there's not.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion on the town administrator's report? Did, lost Mr. Marcy. Oh, there he is. All right.
Yeah.
We have a motion and a second to accept the town administrator's report.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Next up, under public hearings, we have change of manager, Angel Share Wine and Spirits Incorporated, new manager. I don't want to say the name incorrectly. You're here?
Michael Taylor, that's a tough name.
No. There's no Michael Taylor. No, that's the next one. Yep, you're, you can either sit here or go to the podium, whichever you prefer.
Oh, for Angel.
How are you, everyone?
Hello, how are you?
How are you?
Good evening.
Good evening.
And who are you?
Yeah, my name is Jack. I'm the owner of Angel Share.
Okay. Is, I don't know how to pronounce the first name.
Jing Guan.
Jingmon?
Jing Guan. Yeah.
Are they here?
Yeah. I'm sorry.
Are they here?
I'm the Jing
That's
Guan.
him.
Oh, that's you, I'm sorry. Okay, let's see what we have here. While I'm looking for my copy of it, does anyone on the board have any questions?
Well, we have to read the notice to open the public hearing.
Yeah. I don't have that in my, could I? Thank you. So this public hearing does not have a time to be scheduled. We will open the public hearing at 6:49 PM. Greetings again.
Mr. Chair, just for the record, Angel Share Wine and Spirits, Inc., 81 Schofield Ave, Dudley, Mass. Jack Wang presenting.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
question?
yes, by all means.
Mr. Wang, who was the manager before this change?
It's my best friend, Julia Lin. Yeah, right now he live in the Boston, in a very infection area. He think it's a very bad idea to come into work. That's why I just asking him to stay there, whatever you are, and let me run the store. But after almost 4 months until right now, he never come to the store because that's a bad idea. He live in the Boston downtown area with a lot of people already getting infection. I tell him you better stay whatever you are because this area is pretty clean, nice. Just in case, because COVID-19, so he think leave me to charge is better idea.
Okay. Mr. Chairman?
Okay, yes.
Is there any restriction from the proprietor to be the manager? I'm not familiar.
No.
Uh,
There's no restrictions for the proprietor to be the manager.
No, I don't believe so, but I just believe doesn't the manager have to be on site a certain amount of hours when they're open? And I go in there once in a while, and Jack's there pretty much most of the time.
Because I don't think that is the good time to hire new people. That's why I do all the works. Retention, liquor store, U-Haul, everything by myself. Drive me crazy.
Wow.
You're
Seen your wife
you're an
there, too.
ambitious man.
Yeah.
Anything, Mr. Marcy?
Nope.
Mr. Joseph, do you have anything?
I'm okay.
Make a motion to accept?
Close the public hearing first.
I have to close the public hearing first. We're going to close the public hearing at 6:53 PM.
Mr. Chair, without hesitation, no reservation, I think Jack does a great job, and make a motion that we grant the request to change the manager at Angel Wine and Spirits.
Second.
We have motion and a second. No further discussion. Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Jack.
Next up on the agenda is, under public hearings again, is Wine and Malt License Transfer, Park and Shop Incorporated to Imperial Park and Shop Incorporated, Michael Taylor, manager. Greetings, hello.
Good evening. For the record, Joseph Antonellis, I'm an attorney. My office is in Milford, Massachusetts. I'm here
I have to open the public hearing
I
before we go. We're going to open the public hearing at 6:53 PM.
Mr. Chair, before we just get started with the
Yes.
attorney present, is on the application for the license, is that a typo error? It says Imperial Parry, P-A-R-I, as opposed to P-A-R-K. Is it supposed to be Parry?
Oh, I'm sorry, sir. Where are you reading? I have a copy of the applications at some place.
In the big block, where it says applicant information, halfway, second block, like, it says P-A-R-I instead of P-A-R-K. Is that just a
Well, that is
misprint?
definitely a typo, because the
Okay.
name of the company is Imperial Park and Shop, Inc.
Okay,
And I don't see it on mine, which doesn't mean it's not wrong on yours.
I've got the same thing here.
just a typo. Well, we can correct that before we sign.
Apologize.
No
Okay,
worries.
thank you, Mr. Chair.
Very
Sorry,
well.
Counselor.
Oh, that's all right. Thank you.
So this is at 14 Airport Road. Michael Taylor is the manager?
Yes, Michael is with me right here.
Hello, Michael, how are you this evening?
Good evening.
Excellent. Good as can be.
First of all, let me thank your staff for getting this meeting organized. These are difficult times, and my compliments on the manner in which you're running this. I go to a lot of these meetings, and I'm as comfortable here as I've been in any town hall so far, so congratulations. Just to give you an idea globally, this is the purchase of 3 separate Park and Shop supermarkets. My client, Kevin Meehan, is the principal of Imperial. Kevin is a car dealer in Mendon, owns multiple car dealerships, and is an entrepreneur who likes to buy things that need to be spruced up, that where older families have run it, and try and throw in a little bit of pizzazz and a little bit of Kevin Meehan into it. And so he's entered into a contract to buy all 3 stores, the one in Blackstone, Auburn, and obviously here in Dudley. We have been successful in getting the licenses transferred in the other 2 towns. We had meetings last week. and we're here tonight. Michael is the name manager on all of the stores. He has been in the stores for the last 4 or 5 months, working them very closely with the Pappas family, who are the owners of the property. We are not purchasing real estate. We're simply taking over the existing leases. The locations will stay where they are, and you will see a change in the overall appearance of those stores as my client begins to get more involved and take the time to spend more time improving the physical appearance of the stores. Again, Michael has been working at the other stores and at the Dudley store, knows the ropes, very well aware of the requirement to maintain proper decorum relative to the liquor, and already plans in place and procedures in place to make sure that their carding is done. So if any of you walk in and buy an alcoholic beverage, you're going to get carded just like you're at the ball game. There's no discretion as far as Michael's concerned in that, which gets tedious sometimes, but also requires good management. We've disclosed the purchase price. What you see for the purchase price is 1/3 of the global purchase price. We broke it out for each store on the same, and we put an assessment on the liquor license aspect also. So that's all been disclosed in there. And I don't mean to monopolize your meeting, but if there are any specific questions that any of you have, we'll try and give you a good answer to them.
Anybody? Mr. Sullivan?
Yeah, Counselor, I guess this would be to the proposed manager. Any other experience running operations that size, or even on the grocery/liquor side?
I have some experience. I have my own company. I manage 25 people. But other than that, this is new for me.
Could he come up to the mic? Can you join him at the mic,
Or you
please?
can do the podium
Yeah.
behind you.
Oh, the podium,
That
sure.
way you don't have to get too close.
Yes, this is new to me. Like, I have my own cleaning company, 25 people I've had employed, but this part of the supermarket business is totally different. It's a new avenue I'm going on.
So, Mr. Chair, if I may,
Yes.
is there going to be, and I no dog in the hunt, like an overlap, you're going to keep a lot of the existing management level staff at the stores to help with the transition?
Yes, yes, there's a transition period that's already been going on because Michael's been involved, and we've been basically involved in running the markets and making sure that everything is properly ordered, et cetera. But there will be we know they're local businesses, and local faces are important in that.
All right, so one last thing, Mr. Chair, and it's more of an editorial and a comment on Park and Shop. I know you're an alumni.
I am.
I'm an alumni of the Auburn store, for full disclosure.
Okay.
But as we all know, people at home, Park and Shop has been an integral part of our community. They've always been there when we need them. They volunteer. Their people, their families, the Pappases, the Kunkles, always top shelf. And I don't want to speak for the chief, but I'm fairly certain when I say we've had no issues when it comes to liquor there. And I have all the faith in the world, especially going to keep the people in charge, or people there. I'd like to see it just continue. It's a great business with no problems, no issues. So it's more of an editorial than anything, but I'm glad that they seem like they have their finger on the pulse. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sullivan. Mr. Marcy?
Yeah, so, no, guys, thanks for coming in. I'm kind of excited to get some, new blood, so to speak. The Park and Shop, their family has been fantastic, as Mr. Sullivan said. But, the Meehan's, anybody who's driven down there knows that, they're, that would be interesting to see. Or I think a lot of people in Dudley that'll shop in there. So did I hear correctly, Counselor, that no real estate, like the parking lot and the building
No,
is staying?
The family that owns the real estate is going to continue to own the real estate. The leases have all been reviewed and will be
Okay.
assigned to our entity. And if I can leave you with one thought, I've represented Mr. Meehan for about 10 or 12 years now. And it's easy for me to say that whatever he buys, it looks better the next day. The property that he owns, the assimilation of property that he has in the Milford and Mendon area, he just likes to clean things up and make them prettier. He has an architectural desire to make things look good, and I think you'll see just general overall improvements and a commitment to this community like the family that's been there all along. He doesn't buy them to not stay involved.
mean, he'll pretty local too, right? Southern
Oh,
Worcester
yes.
County,
Yeah.
and
He's-
that's important too.
He's around,
Yep.
and he's driving around all the time.
No,
That's
good
more
hit.
like-
Thank you, Mr.
It's more like
Chairman.
mid-watch league. They weren't
Mid-
Western County.
Mr. Joseph, do you have anything?
No, I mean, it's an unusual situation where we're not talking about a separate entity, but one that's in grocery stores. And I guess my question is, can you tell us now publicly, is there any intent down the road to take the alcohol out of the store? Or the stores?
No, I don't think there's any intent for that at all.
Okay, good.
The intention, I think, is to maintain those markets and to bring them back, and, you know, to just generally modernize everything in that thing. Kevin has multiple businesses. He has a couple of country stores in Mendon. He's looked for spots to others to put a brand on, those kinds of things. He's a gentleman who likes to keep the things that he owns.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Johnson, you're good?
I'm good.
All right. Chair will close the,
Yep, motion to close,
do we need a motion to close?
generally.
No, you're
Or
gonna,
just-
you're gonna
yeah.
declare it, and no motion can be made until afterwards.
All right, that's,
All right.
the chair will close the meeting at 7:02, the public hearing at 7:02 PM.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Marcy,
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the transfer of the wine and malt license from Park and Shop, Inc. to Imperial Park and Shop, Inc., with Michael Taylor being our new manager.
Second.
we have a motion and a second. Anything further? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous.
Thank you very much.
Thank you and good luck.
Appreciate
Very
your
much.
time.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Michael.
Nice to meet you, Mr.
Thank-
Taylor.
Thank you for
Thank
coming
you.
in.
Thanks for coming in. We'd shake your hand, Michael, but, you know, COVID. All right.
You won't recognize us in the store because, well, no.
I know.
We are, we'll be wearing masks then even.
We'll look exactly the same, is what you're saying.
Never mind, never
Point
mind.
taken, Mr. Johnson.
Never mind. Next up on the agenda is the Complete Streets Policy Draft. Looks like he would like us to accept it for review and potential action at the 8/24/20 Board of Selectmen meeting. I don't think we need to do anything with this. right
Chairman,
now.
I'd like to move that we accept, acknowledge receipt, rather, not accept, acknowledge receipt of the Complete Streets Policy Draft for review by this board further.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I had a chance to talk to the administrator about maybe a couple of weeks back, because I guess there was some comments, and they wanted to know what the highway department was doing, and I know Stanley could talk on it more than I do, but he told me that the guys are out there already doing some preliminary work for this policy, but I think that's why he wants us to accept
Survey
it and
work,
read it.
yeah.
Just want to let people know that was some of the stuff that was going on.
Okay. Anything else? We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous.
Mr.
Next on the agenda is the warrant for the 2020 state primary. Vote and sign.
Mr. Chair, make a motion that we accept and approve the warrant as presented from the town clerk entitled Commonwealth of Massachusetts, warrant for 2020 state primary.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Johnson? No. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. And is that coming around for us to sign? Yes, it
Yep.
is.
There's more than one copy.
I think there's 3.
Don't keep any of them, Paul. Next on the agenda is the Town Administrator EPRS Stage A Planning Phase. Board of Selectmen received TA Performance Evaluation Stage A Planning Phase for edit and discussion at 8/24/21. Looks like we're not talking about that for another year. Is that a right, a correct year, Michelle?
No, it's 20. We put it 21.
Okay. Initial changes suggested by TA and read on draft.
Well, I will.
What's the board's pleasure with this?
Mr. Chair, make a motion that we accept town administrator employee performance review form for the purpose of having a chance to read the red edits.
We have a motion
Second.
and a second.
My reason why I said that, Mr. Chair, is I'm not comfortable accepting it without reading them all. Maybe shame on me, I hadn't seen them all. But
I agree.
I will be ready to discuss at the next meeting.
We're not accepting the edits, we're accepting the document.
Right,
correct?
but I'll be ready to...
What are we doing, Steve?
Well, my motion was to accept the document with the edits, but not approve it, because to be fair, I haven't had a chance to review it all.
Well, these are,
You-
we don't,
Would you be willing to accept a friendly suggestion that we simply acknowledge receipt of it?
Yeah, but my intention would be if, we're meeting next week?
Yes.
I'll be ready to
For
discuss it
review?
next week, yeah.
All right. That we just simply accept receipt for review. That's as neutral as you can be in a personnel evaluation.
Who was the second? You, John?
yeah, me.
Are you good with that too, or you want to just read?
Yeah, that's
read the-
fine. I mean, we're gonna go through it anyway. I mean, if this was his own assessment, I'd say accept it, but since he added, Mr. Chairman, if he added some performance criteria, so, again, because things change in a year, right, which is okay, so we can talk about that next time. I mean, if this, like I said, if he had already filled all this out, I'd vote to accept, but, because then we would go off and do our ratings of him after that. So, yeah, fine.
Any other discussion on this?
So we'll accept the phrase that Mr. Joseph put forward.
Yeah, good with me.
Okay. You got that, Michelle? Okay,
Bring
no
this home
further
with me.
discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. And we're already at the board member comments. Mr. Sullivan, do you have anything?
Yes, Mr. Chair, just a procedural thing. In the beginning, we didn't accept the executive session minutes.
That was on the consent
Consent.
agenda.
You can do executive on the consent? Okay, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, but not
Appro-
release.
And they're approved but not released.
Okay. Yeah, I just want to make mention that, as we know, the schools are starting to formulate the return to school. Nichols, I'm sure, has got their plan. I've seen some things in the paper. It's going to be potentially a tough time. Everyone just keep doing what you're doing. If you look online, I don't have the exact numbers, but our Dudley numbers are up really, really well down. Yeah, and they're really a good spot. And just, as we say all the time, just keep doing what you're doing, social distance, protect yourself, protect your family, check on your neighbors, check on the elderly, check on people that need it. We all know Dudley's a special place, and let's just keep it that way. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Sullivan. Mr. Joseph?
Nothing.
Mr. Johnson?
To echo on what Mr. Sullivan said, I believe,
At least that one.
I've seen a number of companies do risk abatement for COVID very well. And, some of those same methods, applies to, schools and other public groups and organizations. And I think with the right planning, the right people coming together, with the school committee working with the local boards of health, a plan can be created and starting to get back to normal. It's not without a lot of work to be done. So, a lot of kudos to those teams doing a pretty tough job in that sense.
Definitely. Mr. Marcy?
Yeah, I just want to call out the school committee for a minute. I watched their meeting on a Zoom where they made a difficult decision, having been in this position to make difficult votes. I feel for them. It's difficult. You're not going to make everybody happy or anybody happy in some cases. I just want to thank them for their volunteer service on that very, very important board. and I know that everybody's going to work to, as Mr. Johnson said, get back to normal. Our data is very, very favorable. We're not Worcester, we're not Boston in many cases. So, you know, we'll have to keep a close eye, keep doing a good job so we can get our kids back in school, because they need it.
They do.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Marcy.
Thank you.
I'd like to use my time for a moment to talk about social media. The town has a couple of social media presences, like on Facebook, Twitter, and we primarily use that for one-way communication, meaning we'll let you know when the recycling center is going to be closed, or just different emergency things or different good things that are happening, like the Halloween party or what have you. What I mean by one-way communication is a lot of us can't sit all day on Facebook to respond to questions and concerns. If you have a question or concern, you have to call 508-949-8001 or selectmen@dudleyma.gov. That's how you reach us. If you want to get on the agenda, you can get on the agenda if you've got an issue, but if you post on Facebook questions or complaints, you can't expect them to be addressed, because we really, like I said, this isn't a company. We don't have a social media manager. We don't have someone 40 hours a week behind a computer screen looking at captures and different opinions and what have you. We just can't do it. So if you want action to be taken about something, or if you want to ask a question, again, it's 508-949-8001 or selectmen@dudleyma.gov. Thank you. Departmental communication. George.
Did you have something else?
I'm sorry?
I thought I saw Steve's hand up.
Good evening. Just a couple things. As you know, we conduct lead and copper sampling routinely. We're on a 3-year plan, and it's coming up again in September. So we'll be testing schools, about 20 residential ones that we commonly test. And apparently now we're going to end up into the daycares. Some of the licensed daycare establishments throughout the town are going to be tested too. State's coming up with all sorts of new fun things to do, and that's now one of them. So we'll be asking some of the residents to take samples as they do normally, leaving off packets with sample bottles and things, and in the schools also to take their samples. So that'll be coming up in September. So we've also prepared the schools to commonly flush many of their schools to make sure that the water is being run constantly, so we don't run into any problems there. So everybody's up to snuff with that. The other thing is, I want to thank my guys for water and sewer, who were up for about 2.5 days trying to maintain the Lions Road sewer pump station during that storm. Took out the whole street for about 2.5 days. We have about a 1940 generator that we have to keep moving to keep that station running. So they stayed up there day and night. We all took turns trying to keep that running. And I do have a new generator coming into place there, but unfortunately wasn't in time for that. But it will be coming up in the next few weeks, hopefully, so we can start getting that properly protected with emergency power. Just trying to think what the other thing I had to say was. Pretty much, that's pretty much it. It was a nice effort. Everybody chipped in to take care of the problem, and they stayed with it and made sure everything was done properly. Kept the station running so that there was no issues with any kind of sewage or anything coming up. So I want to just thank them all for that. That's it.
Did you say a 1940s generator?
Correct. Yeah, it's a tow-behind generator. We have two of them. They're about the same age. One's a little newer. That's why
It's a little newer, 1945? Wow.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but this is what we have to do when any station goes under emergency power. We have to tow the generators to the facilities and power them and keep an eye on them as they go. But the new one in Lakeview Ave now is in place, and it's working. It's already done its thing. For the last couple times we've lost power. I think last night it lost power. Generator kicked on, so that's working. And it's actually a quiet running generator, so the neighbors don't really get bothered by the noise. So it really works out pretty good.
Mr. Sullivan?
At the risk of asking the question, the elephant that's in the room, you guys have like $1 million in your retained earnings. How come you didn't have a generator I'm not blaming you, because obviously it's been there longer than you've been in charge. When I say, how come you guys, how come water or sewer isn't more prepared or more into the 21st century?
It's, like you said, it's been a money thing from way back, or an issue that nobody seemed to want to pursue. Same with the generator at Lakeview. It's been sitting on with the money in the accounts for many years. And I, as soon as I found what was going on, I got that going. So make sure we can get that put into place, which we just did. Same with the other one now, Lyons Road. That was donated with some money from Mr. Haynes over there at Lyons Road Estates there. And that's going to be put in the next few weeks. I've already got the quotes, and I'm already going to be putting the order in for the cheapest one, and one that fits our needs. So hopefully that'll be put in place within the next couple months or so. It's just an ordering issue, depending if they have it in stock. As soon as they get it to us, we'll get things rolling and get the pad put in and mount it and have it wired up, and we'll be all set. The other thing I did remember is I came to the board many months ago and explained about the Eisenhower sewer pump station acceptance, the issue that's been going on for many years, since 2008. Phase 1 is complete on that. We've actually raised the top hatch of that and regraded the whole area and set it back down where it's now flush with the road. Phase 2 is going to be coming up, where we're going to be going in and checking out the pumps and putting the rail system in and whatever electrical has to be done, along with alarming system, so we can get that accepted by the sewer department. The rest of the road is not our responsibility. It's just getting that station accepted is our primary objective. We know right now one of the pumps has failed. We believe one of the pumps has failed in there, and I believe it's one that hasn't been replaced yet since the exception of that sewer pump station. One I replaced way back when I was intern superintendent, when I found we had a problem, but one of them is still the old one from back in 2006 or somewhere in that time frame. So we're on borrowed time there, but we're going to get that going next week. Hopefully get that squared away, one way or the other. So.
Geez, I asked one question, I get 2 answers. It's bonus day.
How old is that pump station, George? Sorry, Mr. Chair.
That was put in, don't hold me to the date, I think it was around 2006. When they started that development, I think you would know better than I would.
I think I just got off the planning board, so probably right around there.
Yeah, the former superintendent there didn't accept it. He wrote a letter to that effect. The issue I'm having is why it was allowed to continually go and put more houses online, is that station wasn't accepted. But to that effect, it is what it is. It's been in service since that time period, and now, because we haven't accepted it, nothing's really been done there. It's a project that's been going on now, that I've been going on for over a year, to get that arranged with the developer over there. He has come to talks with us. We have had some good results, but like I said, I'm being very careful where my game plan has to go and his is going to end. It's going to get done, because I'm not going to have a problem over there with any of the pumps going out and causing a sewer issue. Then we're going to have a major issue with the residents and so forth and so on. So that's going to be done in the next couple of weeks to make sure that gets accepted by the sewer department. Anything else will be hashed out later on if it has to be.
Anything else?
Thanks,
Thank you, George.
Thank you, George.
Police chief.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, everyone. Just a couple things. I'll also echo just what George brought up too, and talking with Stan. Just kudos to our guys and the fire guys, and especially the highway guys, for all their work on that tropical storm. I think even though we didn't get a lot of rain, the wind certainly wreaked some havoc and took some power out for a few days. Lots of trees down. I think we had over 40 reports of different areas of trees and other damage like that. So. Really good team effort on everything to kind of get everything up and running as quick as we could. Worked very well with our crew from National Grid. They were really kind of stretched out, especially as the storm kind of moved up the coast. So I just want to extend kudos to them on that. Have Officer Pacheco is back working now. Have a detective out there doing some work as well. And one of our new officers, Mariano Conti, is working on getting us on Instagram. That's one of the things to kind of help connect a lot of our Facebook things with the younger generation. So he wants to take that project on and get that rolling. So we'll be out there having another, as you mentioned before, social media presence out there with the younger crew. So that's about all I have for now, unless there's any questions on anything.
Yes, Mr. Joseph.
Not a question, a statement. I want the public to know that, Chief, the quality of your communications, the clarity of your communication, and the timeliness of your communications to this board has been outstanding. And it just continues to be so informative and helpful for us to know as quickly as you let us know. So thank you.
Thank you, appreciate it.
I second that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks as always, Chief.
Anyone else? Yes, Mr. Joseph, not Joseph, Johnson. Sorry, there's a glare in the plexiglass. I couldn't see you. Go ahead.
The timing of my joke, asking for more, graphs and data, kind of ruined it for me now.
Delivery was never my,
No, thank you, Chief, for, to reiterate what Mr. Joseph said, the information is great and timely. Thank you.
No, it's good. I mean, thank you. It's one of those things, it's good to be able to share that information, get that out there, because I know it's the same thing I share with my officers. It's one of the things where I'll get a lot of questions from people, and I'm sure you guys in your positions get a lot of questions. So it's at least good to have some basic information on those things. So thank you very much. I appreciate that.
thank you, Chief. Stan?
List of some of the storm limbs and trees
You collecting it? I'm sure.
clean up.
Not till next week.
Been a little busy, huh?
Been a little busy, but we completed the list that we had there,
Thanks,
from what
Dan.
the call-ins, and
Wow.
that was a pretty good sized list. Yeah, it was a pretty good sized list there. I mean, I didn't expect that great of wind speed that we had at the height of that storm, and it just like all of a sudden just wreaked havoc over the town. With the help of the police department, we were actually trying to they were giving us communication to where all the trees were down, what was in the wires, what wasn't, what we could handle. All our mission was that day was just to clear the roads and to open what we could and just keep everybody happy. I know there was a lot of power outages because of it. And as National Grid cleared the trees out of the wires, we'd go there and clean up the mess, accordingly, just as they left it for us. It took us all the way till today to finally clean up the last of that storm. But if there's going to be any more that we don't know about, we'll find out. Because we had scouts going down the streets that we didn't have any reports on, just to see if there was any kind of damage anywhere that we had to clean up. But the guys worked really hard to do it, even with a short crew and really hot conditions we had out there. It was tough. But
Yeah.
they did a great job.
Good. Great job, Aaron.
Kudos to the entire staff, Dan. Really. I didn't get any complaints. I got notices of limbs that were down, but not a single complaint. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Johnson?
Stan, thank you and your guys for, what you did through that storm. And it just brings us back to, all the good work, taking down, dying trees and limbs that are, the future problems of a storm like this. If we weren't diligent about doing that work, we'd have even worse time with some of this.
Oh, yes.
So, thank you.
I mean, we have a list going of trees that are in need now, so we're getting them prioritized so that we can take care of them before they do cause problems.
Yeah, a storm like this will bring out some
Oh, yeah.
some new opportunities, right?
Mm-hmm. Always does.
A lot of kindling.
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan, you had something?
Excuse me. Yeah, Stan, I just want to echo what Paul and Jay said. In this list, I mean, we know we have a lot of miles of roads in this town, and, it goes from the town hall to Lyons, to New Boston, Corbin, Farley, Roberts Road, Dudley, Southbridge. I mean, we're not talking about one little area that got hit. You guys were all over the place, and it really showed. And as Paul said, I didn't get any complaints either, and I had actually gone up 31 and hit the tree that came down, almost completely blocked the road.
Mm-hmm.
But the guy coming towards me went around it, so I saw there was a wire kind of wrapped around it. I was actually on the phone with the administrator, I said, well, one guy made it, must be safe, so. But I went back later, like a day later, and it was gone. It was completely cleaned up, so. You guys do an excellent job. Thank you, Stan.
Are we all set with trees and limbs now?
Trees and limbs, I'm good.
How's the recycling center going?
It seems like
You
it's
knew-
eased up. It has eased up a lot of complaints, and everybody's, I think, are getting used
Has
to
it,
the
though?
system. To the point, you know, I mean, there's still some, they're not happy with it, but they're getting used to it, the
When I
system.
go, there's rarely a line, but I go, I know I'm going at the off time, like 11 in the morning.
I think people are realizing that you can't all come at once. Like, you don't go right away when it opens. Stagger it a little bit, and you won't have the big lines.
We could do something by the last digit of the license plate. I'm totally kidding. Mr. Johnson?
Stan, I was thinking about this over the last few hours. How much data has been collected on the new system in terms of the daily quantity of people coming in? Do we have that data in some kind of?
Well, they have the check-in sheet, and it gets turned in weekly, and so you can see, and between the 2 days, some people only come once a week, but
Who has that data?
The sheets go to the collectors, treasurers, every week.
Okay.
I turn it into them, because they're the ones that print up the new sheets for them every week.
I think I'd like to know how many people are paying extra for bags as well.
Oh, I'm looking at this as from a customer-centric point of view. So when I design a process, I want to ensure that the customer needs are being met within reason. So, I start thinking about, if the recycling center is open 8 hours and there's X number of people that will come in that day, maybe over a certain span of time, I'd want to know if our process is capable of handling that. And that would be determined by time studies of, how long it takes to do each transaction, let's call it, with the customer. I'd want to know any variation to how many bags, and compile that data and take a look and try to design a system that meets the requirements of the employee, both the customer, the sticker holder, and the employees running the thing, because the respect for the people doing the job and the respect for the customer both have to happen. And the concessions, you try to avoid them, and you try to avoid them by having good data up front. So we've been running this now for, I don't know, feels like 10 years, right? It's like 3 months or 3 months?
6 weeks.
Huh?
Couple of 2.
4 days, probably.
End of July, it went real. Like,
June
All right.
1st or July 1st?
July 1st.
So it's not, so there's still a good amount of data collected in those days, all right? It should level out a little bit differently, people will adjust, but I think we should probably take a hard look at that data and run some analysis and, figure this out.
Are you asking that be put on the agenda for the next meeting? Because if you are, I would back that 110%.
Well, through the chair, I'd appreciate getting the information first so that it can be compiled and
That's what I'm saying.
analyzed. I don't want to hem and haw about it till the analysis is done, and then probably put on the agenda to discuss and see, where we are, and we could probably trend out. There's not a
Let's
chart and
see,
graph,
yeah.
chief. Chart out the information and see what we get, because there's never going to be continuous improvement without an active participation by both the town and the employees and us, right? So let's look at it and see how we can help.
Mr. Marcy?
I know. You usually say we're the government. We're here to help. It usually doesn't come out so well, but we really want to look at the data and see.
Yeah, I understand.
How can we make some Kerry was throwing out a solution to a problem we don't know we have yet. But what are the real problems so we can help define define it better, and then actually solve the problems.
I'll tell you what the problem is. There's little spaces of time where a lot of people go. I know that, because I've gone before and I just turn around right when I pull off of West Main, see the line, turn around and go. First thing in the morning, early afternoon.
I'm sure the data will back that up.
It should. Mr. Marcy?
Good, no, I'm gonna go one step further, Mr. Johnson. We absolutely need data. When we took that vote, again, I've heard, I mean, I know you're not hearing it down there at the recycling center, which I'm thankful for, but we're hearing it en masse. Speaking of social media, all over social media, emails, there's a certain group of people who are very upset about it. We told them when we took the vote that within 6 months, we would gather this data and then adjust accordingly. I'd like to say, if we are gonna keep this town run, which is what I think everybody wanted, and we could have just said, see ya, all right, let someone else run it. It was important for the town, people who use the dump, to keep that town run, and we're doing that. I would like us to see and work towards, once we get this, COVID starts to resolve itself and budgets are better, we start adding another day or so to that recycling center, right? And that, they can spread it out. Again, data might show that could be there, right? But I mean, that's one of the things that I think we could look at. These are just my initial things that I've heard and observed. And are they writing everything down? Like, is it, did you say you're turning in sheets? What's on those sheets?
Yes, they have a check sheet. When you come in,
yeah,
they look at you get your sticker number, so they find your sticker number. They find out how much you have to check in, and they check in whether it's Wednesday or Saturday. So if you check in on Wednesday, then you come back on Saturday, your tallies are continuing from that Wednesday.
All right, cool, all right, that's good. That's good.
So the sign-in sheet has the check marks on, could be both Wednesday and Saturday, or just one of those days.
So one of the things that people have asked me, and I want to make sure we have the answer straight, and actually I think we've gotten emails and posts about that recently too. If I'm only coming every 2 weeks, I'm paying for a certain amount per week, for instance. Why do we stop them at the 1 week limit if they didn't come last week? What if they have 2 weeks of stuff to bring? We still haven't answered that question.
No.
Is it because of technology, it's hard to really check? Be nice if, once we get some technology in place, Stan, so you can actually see, oh, you were here last week, and you don't, yep, you can bring your 1,000 bags, whatever. Right? I just wanted to bring that up publicly to those that are watching. That is a problem we need to solve for, because they absolutely, we base that on usage per week, right? And if they only come a couple times a month, that should be accounted for. Right, we want to make sure that everybody's getting the value for what they're doing.
Mr. Sullivan.
Thanks.
So the rabbit hole of the transfer stations opens up again.
Oh,
I believe that question was asked before we took the vote. And it was indicated that if you're on vacation, for example, and you miss a week, you don't get the 12 bags next week.
Correct.
no, you do, no, I think it was, because
Nope.
because we spread it out over.
Around
It
because
was because the size of the dumpsters that we have, if everyone, or a good portion of people took a week off, and then they did double the next week, that could fill it up on a Wednesday.
I believe the analogy was when
Have
superintendent
scheduled pickups.
the superintendent was here,
Still have to solve for it.
and we were talking about specifically, for example, the TVs. And at that point, there was no rhyme or record or reasoning about how many TVs, and I know I asked the question, well, how can we ascertain how many bags? I mean, yeah, in the abstract, it makes sense. If I miss next week, I come the next week, I get 7 bags instead of 6 or whatever it is, I shouldn't get charged. But if people down there turn the sheet in,
They don't have
they might
they
know
don't
in their
know.
head that, no,
Yeah.
I didn't come. And as an aside, I'm not trying to make the rabbit hole bigger. With you, Mr. Marcy, upon further review, if it's feasible and if the data shows it, I'd like to see that open another half a day maybe, or a full day.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely, and Mr. Johnson is going to say that we're answering a question that we
Well,
don't
know
have
the
yet
problem.
because we
He
don't
is,
have the-
I could tell by his look.
If, as I said, wait, I wasn't done yet.
Speculating about, without analyzing the data, don't speculate response to it. Define the problem, create countermeasures to the problem.
You're right.
You're probably all right, but let's do the work
I agree.
and create a plan.
I clearly said if the data shows.
Yep, as did I.
Clearly
It
said,
shows that you should jump up and down on 1 foot. You could jump up and down on 1 foot.
absolutely.
Do that.
Oh,
Good one. No, I think we all, I think,
That was,
Mr. Chairman, I mean, we all said that if the data shows it, but like I said, I have some, those are my observations and editorial, you know, it's so far, with 6 weeks, 2 months in. Right, I think the training issue is, you know, it's gonna resolve itself, people kinda are in the, Stan's guys are in the swing of things down there. Data will show that if we need more time, more people, or a different approach. But I really think you know, getting some technology down there, like I said before, to be able to understand what people have brought already in a week or a month or quarter, a year, just so that they can throw what they paid for. That's valuable.
Could someone send me the standard operating procedures used for the new system? Is there like a book of how to do each of the tasks or the collection or the?
There's just the rules and regulations that we have to follow for the place.
Michelle, can I get a copy of that, please? Or the board?
Mr. Chair, if Mr. Johnson is willing, because he has the skill, the knowledge, and the talent, I don't know if he has the time. I'm certainly not volunteering him, but if he could collate some of that data into a meaningful graph or a,
Nice PowerPoint.
I would be willing.
Ask for the data for a reason, Mr. Owen, yes.
I'd be willing to peruse the camera footage from this Wednesday and even give you times. Because the way they check it in, there's no times.
That's another
There's
way
no
to get.
times on that.
Yeah, there's no times
There's
on
no
the sheet.
times on that.
Right, so how do you get times? It's either through direct observation, have someone stand there with a stopwatch. You guys don't have time for that. So the other way to do it, and we do this in manufacturing all the time, you set up a little camera. If someone's building widgets and you're building 1 million
There's
widgets,
cameras there.
there's gonna
There's
be
a camera under
variation up and down, and by direct observation, either through camera or directly there, you can get all those little intricate details and create a data set that makes sense.
I can look
So-
at the camera footage and hit fast forward and go through and,
Yeah, if we can
And-
get, you know.
I'll do it.
30 is a good round number.
and one last thing, Mr. Chair.
yes.
I believe anybody with a smartphone has the ability to gain access with permission through the password to that camera. So
Oh, I didn't know that.
any one of us could
Yes.
access and look. And I'm not saying we have to watch a 10-hour day or whatever, 11 to 7 on Wednesdays?
Yep.
But I mean, anybody would have that ability just to say, yeah, I wonder if it's busy yet. I'm just saying if someone so desires.
When you come back, Michelle, would you mind getting in touch with someone for a login? Lucas, could you do that? Thank you.
Yeah, that'd be nice. Yep.
Well, if you want it.
Do you
Oh, yeah.
board members want it?
Yeah, I'm interested in finding out not only the data that exists, but what we don't know from what we're not accumulating in terms of data.
You're right.
In other words, I don't know what additional questions that we would have until we see the data.
This is excellent. Do we
we
need a
all agree
motion
we
for
need
this,
data.
or can we just,
You don't need it, you can do it by unanimous consent.
unanimous consent? We're good?
Just looking for information.
That's all? That's
And you don't want to take a vote on it because it's not on the agenda as an item.
But it's something that's unforeseen within 48 hours of the meeting. I know, we're splitting hairs,
Play it
but we
safe.
have the data to split the
Let's
hairs.
play it safe.
All right, anything further for Stan, or are we gonna keep him standing
No,
there for a
thanks,
few more
Stan.
minutes?
Thanks, Dan.
Thanks, Stan, appreciate it. Mr. Joseph, would you be so kind as to carry us into executive session for reason 3?
Yeah, I will. I'm gonna move, well, I'm not
Gonna
do
move your
that.
mask.
Yeah, well, no, not that. Gonna move.
Thank God it's only the mask.
I gotta change my glasses here. I'm gonna move that we convene into executive session under Mass General Law, Chapter 39, Section 23B, as allowed, to discuss physical
Nope,
conditions.
just reason 3. We can't do 1.
I beg your pardon?
We cannot do 1 tonight, Mr. Joseph. We can only do 3.
Okay, in that case, I'm just gonna leave that motion as B and not to reconvene in open session.
Well,
We have to say to conduct
Read number-
strategy
read number
session in
2, Paul.
preparation for negotiations with non-union.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's allowed, if you want it specifically, to conduct strategy in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel, or to conduct collective bargaining session or contract
Yep.
negotiations with
rolls.
non-union personnel.
Second.
Motion and a second. Roll call vote.
Paul Joseph, aye.
John Marcy, aye.
Jay Johnson, aye.
Stephen Sullivan, aye.
Carrie Sigenovich, aye. Unanimous. Thank you, everyone. Have a good
Thank you.
evening.
Good night.
Stay safe.
So, I